Hello there, friends. Rebecca here, the Dragon Librarian from Farmington Community Library, and Brill and I are here today with actually a very special video that we wanted to share with everybody. And this video is a little bit different than usual. Mostly because these are books that I wanted to talk about for a very specific reason. There's lots of times that I will talk about books that are linked by a common thread, like by the author being the same or part of a series, or maybe the themes are a little bit similar. But today I want to talk about books that are a specific set of books for a very different reason. As you may be aware, or maybe you're not aware, there have been a lot of different news articles and publicity recently regarding books that are being banned or challenged or pulled from curriculums across the country. Now, according to the ALA, which is the American Library Association, there were 330 book challenges just this past fall. That is a record number. It is significantly higher than it has been in previous years. And each week, more and more stories are coming out about different books that are coming under fire. So I really wanted today to talk to you about a couple of the books that are getting a lot of attention so that you have the opportunity to make up your own mind about really whether or not it's something that you'd like to read. Now, as a reminder, I just want to let you guys know that these videos and this video in particular is meant to help introduce you guys to titles that you may not know and you might be interested in. They're not meant to say that these books are appropriate for everybody, right? Everybody's different. Everybody has different things that they need to go towards when it comes to reading. So I'm not saying that these books are for everyone, but they're meant to just help you get a grasp of what these books are about, and then you can make the decision yourself whether you want to read them. So it's up to each person or their adult to decide if this book, or these books rather, are something that is appropriate for them or something that you'd like to read. So I'm not here today, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not here today to tell you that you should read these books. But I'm also not here today to tell you that you shouldn't read these books. Basically, I'm here to talk to you a little bit about each of these books in case you are curious or interested in them. And I want to talk about what I personally liked about these books. And then when we're finished, hopefully you'll be a little bit more informed about what these books are about, and then you can make up your own mind. So, without further ado, let's talk about the first book, which is Walk Two Moons by Sharon Creech. Now, Walk Two Moons is actually a Newbery Award winner book, right here. It's got the little pretty medal here. And this book has been recently banned to emotionally weighted topics. So this is the story about a girl named Sal who was on a journey with her grandparents to try to track her mother down. Her mother's been gone. They're traveling across the country trying to find her. And basically, as they're traveling, Sal is telling her grandparents this story about this made-up girl named Phoebe, and it basically is a parallel to her own life, but told in a fantastical sense. So what I really liked about this book mostly was Sal herself. She was funny, she was quirky, she was creative. I adored how her mind just spun this tale of Phoebe and her adventures and was so closely mirrored to her own story. And I loved that the way that she used the story to bridge the gap between her and her grandparents, right? So stories are such a way that you can connect with people, right? You can connect with a loved one through a story. Maybe a grandparent or a family member is telling you a story about something that happened in their own life, and in doing so, you feel closer to them. And that's kind of like what was going on in this story here. I love that idea of stories being just this vehicle of communication and empathy, and it was amazing. And like I said, I really liked Sal herself. She was hilarious. She made me crack up a lot while I was reading this book. Absolutely so funny. I loved her so much, and I just loved her quirkiness, and like I said, her ability to tell the story to try to make sense of her own life, because that's kind of what we all do, right? We tell stories to try to make sense of what we're going through. So that is Walk Two Moons by Sharon Creech. So the next book, I actually have the audiobook to show you because the physical copy of the book is actually checked out right now, and I could not get my hands on a copy. But the book in question is Dragonwings by Laurence Yep. Now, Dragonwings is another book that is a Newbery Award winner. You can't really tell here. It's kind of covered up here on the audiobook version, but this is another book that won the Newbery Award. This has been banned and challenged because of foul language. So this book was published in the 70s, so it's an older title. But even despite that, I think it's a book that's really easy to relate to, even in this day and age. I had a lot of fun just discovering a new place and a new time period with these characters that is not really one that I had thought of before. So basically it takes place in the beginning of the 1900s in Chinatown in San Francisco. So Moonshadow is a young boy. He's 8 years old, and he is traveling now from China to visit his father, whose name is Windrider, who lives in this place that he's never been. So he previously has not known his father. He'd never met his father. He's never been to America before. He's coming from China. So imagine how huge and scary that must be, to leave at such a young age your country and your family and everything that you've known to basically start all over again. It's very courageous, right? So his father worked in a laundromat. And basically this is the story of Moonshadow just really learning to love his father and building this relationship with him, because he learns that his father has this dream. He has this dream who wants to create, and I'm not going to tell you what he creates because it's kind of going to give away the point of the story. But basically he has this dream, and he has to make sense of being in this brand new place with his father, who in the beginning doesn't really make a lot of sense to him. And the father having to deal with basically living in poverty, being ridiculed by a lot of the people around him, people not believing in him. So it's such a great story because of a number of things. So I really liked it for two main reasons. The main reason is I really like books about outsiders. I like books about people that are going to a new place or set out of their element and have to learn how to basically adapt and survive in new places. Because I think everyone can relate to that, right? There's always something in your life at one point or another that makes you feel like you're an outsider. So I think even if it's a completely different situation, obviously I've never gone through anything quite like this. I think we can all relate to those aspects of feeling alone and trying to belong in a place that doesn't quite make sense to you. And I really also liked just showing the Chinese community. I thought this was amazing. I didn't know a lot about the turn of the century in San Francisco and Chinatown, and I learned a lot from this book, and it was fabulous. So I liked learning about this new time and place, and I just loved the sense of outsider or other that is completely evoked in this story. So that is Dragonwings by Laurence Yep. The next book is Out of Darkness by Ashley Hope Perez. And this is a Printz Honor Award winner book, which is the Printz Award is an award that's given to young adult literature of high excellence. And it has recently been banned in numerous places for sexual content. So this is another story that takes place about a historical place and time period that I was really unfamiliar with. And that was in the 1930s in Texas. There was a school explosion. There's a school that exploded, and I had no idea about this, never heard about it before reading this book. So that was really interesting. And basically, it was one of the worst disasters in American history. And the author uses that as basically a backdrop for this story that has to do with segregation, has to do with love, has to do with family, has to do with trust and loyalty, and is basically about a young Mexican girl who falls in love with a young black man and their relationship and coming to terms with that. And think of that, that's the 1930s in Texas. That was a lot to deal with back then. So watching Naomi and Wash just have to go through everything they went through was really hard. This is a tough book. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But I came out of it not only more knowledgeable about a lot of the issues that was talked about in it, but also I just felt like, I don't know if you've ever read a book that just tears you apart, but then puts you back together again, and you feel just so much more better for it. For me, that was what this book did. I loved the story of Naomi and Wash and just thought that they were an amazing couple of kids who were just doing what they can in the face of, terrible tragedy. So that is Out of Darkness, Ashley Hope Perez. Okay, last but not least, this is one that I'm sure you've heard about because it's been getting a lot of publicity. They all have, but this one is, I think, one that has been in the news and the media a lot recently, and I really wanted to talk about it. And that is Mouse by Art Spiegelman. So this is technically 2 different graphic novels. It's Mouse 1 and Mouse 2. This one I have is actually a combination of both of them in one. At the library, though, we have them as 2 separate graphic novels. So when you're looking it up in the catalog, you'll look up Mouse. Mouse 1 and Mouse 2 will come up. So this is basically, to sum this up as easily as possible, it's basically the story of the Holocaust, but instead of humans as the people, they are cats as the Nazis, and the mice are the Jewish people. So that is a really interesting take on the Holocaust. And the thing that really struck me about this book is, you know, I'm in my 30s, right? So I've read a lot of things about the Holocaust. I've read a lot of stuff in school. I've read a lot of stuff on my own, but I've never read anything quite like this. First of all, I think that the imagery itself sort of hits maybe a little bit harder than maybe reading it in a textbook would. The second thing, and the thing that I really loved about it, is the author is telling the story, he's relating it to us as he was told by his father. So the artist's and the writer's father was in a concentration camp, and he is telling the story of everything that happened leading up to it and after and during to his son, who is then transcribing it, and then we get this version here. So what does that mean? That means that this story is a very personal story, right? It's not the same as like reading it from a textbook or even through a fiction book, because this is something that really happened to someone and you're learning about it. And there were a lot of times I was reading it where I had to put it down and just kind of put my hand over my heart and say, wow, you know, oh my goodness, because it's just such a strong emotional story. So this was banned because of nudity and foul language, and it also won a couple different awards back in the day. So it won the Pulitzer Prize Special Citation Award, and it also won the American Book Award. So I just want to show you so you see. So it's not in color, it is in black and white. And like I said, it is just the story of basically a father telling a story to his son, and the relationship between the father and son, which is another talking point of this book. So it's not just about the Holocaust, it's also about a son trying to relate to his father, right? And the disconnect that can sometimes happen between fathers and sons, or mothers and daughters, or just kids and parents in general. So this is a harrowing, very emotional, intense story that I personally thought it was fantastic. Which is, like I said, my opinion. I thought it was great. I'm just talking about, like I said, review of this book. I think if you're looking to read something about the Holocaust and about this time period, this one is a good one to check out. Mouse. And like I said, you can get that from Farmington Community Library as 2 different volumes. All of these books are available at Farmington Community Library. So they are all available for checkout. You can check them out in the catalog. I'll post links in the description for further information and stuff like that. I appreciate everybody watching today. Thank you so much. Please give this video a like. I would really appreciate it. And everyone have a wonderful day.